Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about the timing and the nature of the anticipated charges from Fulton County DA Fani Willis. So, Willis last week sent out a letter to all kinds of court personnel saying basically, clear your decks for the first few weeks in August. My staff is all going to be working from home except for a few members of my leadership team. Judges are going to be away then, etc. But making plans about a few weeks from in the first few weeks in August, a not very subtle signal that that's when she intends to bring down the charges against not just Donald Trump, but potentially many other defendants, 15 or more. So let's wind this back a bit. First of all, notice you wouldn't normally, and in fact, it would be unfair to a defendant, advertise when you're going to bring charges that a grand jury hasn't even heard yet. But that's the bed that Trump makes for himself with all his rabble rousing. So he has already totally tried to vilify Fani Willis, called her racist and the like, and rev up his clearly dangerous followers to be ready. And Willis has been taking it very seriously. She previously asked for the FBI to come in and give her a security assessment. She has passed out bulletproof vests to members of her team. And it's just what happens as a result of Trump's hijinks. It's a little bit like the E. Jean Carroll case. Normally, a defendant could wait for the very, very last minute and would, if only to kind of force the prosecution to spend resources preparing for a cross-examination before saying whether they were going to testify or not. But in the E. Jean Carroll case, the judge forced Trump to say it earlier because it would be such a logistical challenge that they needed advance warning. So this is, the special wages of Trump and a very kind of concrete demonstration of how he, on the one hand, rides high in the political system, but it seems almost inversely proportional to his fortunes in the legal system. Here, his very, not just political prominence, but political style and, fomenting and, complete populism means that she's got to give this warning in advance. Second, think about it for a moment. The grand jury that could return charges hasn't even sat yet. It begins to sit in early July. So she's already anticipating that a grand jury that hasn't sit will hear evidence and return charges. That's pretty noteworthy. And what charges could they be? Well, she's got to be going now by the script written by the special grand jury that gave an advisory opinion to her. Obviously, she may have received that opinion and thought the better of some of their recommendations, but remember just how broad their recommendations were. We know from the kind of 15-minute fame tour of the four-person that in excess of a dozen figures were recommended to be indicted by them in sort of two separate cases, a whole Georgia electors case and a Trump case. Start with the Georgia electors case. That's advanced in the last few weeks. We know that Willis has offered immunity and it's been taken by many of the electors. So obviously she's building a very strong case against the most culpable actors with the testimony of all the people who acted with them. And so the head of the Republican Party and a couple others who were really scheming to basically file false certification saying we are electors from the state of Georgia when they were nothing of the sort. They are really very much in the crosshairs. But then also remember all the people who testified or were subjects of the testimony before the special grand jury. Rudy Giuliani, who's been told he's a target, so I think we can expect him. Mark Meadows, who eluded it, but we know she wanted. Lindsey Graham seems, that would be a very aggressive move, but it seems possible, and on and on. So the headline here is she's going to start presenting. This is unusually transparent, and it's required to be by the nature of Donald Trump. So she's going to start presenting to a grand jury in July and ask them to return charges at the beginning of August. I think she'd be shooting for, and to safely, she says, those first 3 weeks. And perhaps more importantly, there will be one, Georgia versus Donald Trump, the core case. Remember the audio tape from Raffensperger, just need 11,780 votes, a very solid case. It seems to me on the facts. Just a little aside, I'll come back to this in future YouTubes, but it's going to be challenging. There'll be a lot of litigation over this because of the basic feature. We have this in Manhattan too, of a state court going after a former president, and there may be very unusual claims to litigate, some defenses by Trump, attempts to bring it into federal court, and the like. But anyway, on the facts, a really sprawling case, not just against Trump, but I'm expecting Giuliani, and I'm expecting and hoping I try not to be specifically partisan, but Mark Meadows has been a very culpable actor all the way along, and he has totally stayed out of trouble, in part because of deft lawyering. I see him as getting charged, and I see him as deserving the charges. And so that's what we can also expect in August. So as the weeks tick by, and it won't be that long, we're really building toward a behemoth case. Now, Trump already, in the Trumpian way, has tried to get it dismissed in advance. He's done this long motion saying because of something with the special grand jury, it really doesn't make sense at all. And her supposed bias, the whole thing should be thrown out. He briefed it, she responded, and tellingly last week, he asked for a lot more time to file a big reply brief, and the court simply said, no more briefing at all. That is really unusual to shut it down, but he's saying, I don't need to know anymore. And in fact, it's a very, you could say unusual or anomalous, or you could just say meritless effort. You don't do this before the charges have even been brought. But once again, Trump, in his Trumpian ways and forcing his lawyers out front, seems to have tried the patience of a judge whose goodwill he will really need if and when charges are brought. So his MO is perfectly designed, might be well designed to rev up MAGA crowds, but seems perfectly designed to alienate judges, and a big one is coming. So there you have it. The timing, the nature, the number, and where the judge stands. Lots to be watching in the summer, hot, humid summer down in Georgia.
What's up, Midas Mighty? Jordy here. Talking Feds, the YouTube channel run by renowned attorney and former top federal prosecutor Harry Litman, is now part of the MeidasTouch network. Check out the Talking Feds YouTube channel by searching for it right now, and subscribe to Talking Feds on YouTube for free, great legal coverage. Search for Talking Feds on YouTube and subscribe today. Let's help get that channel to over 100,000 subscribers.